This is still strategic marketing, and this is lesson 1, part 3 on marketing audit. Now, in this video, we will be talking about auditing and how it works and why is it necessary. Now, before we go on, we have to define first what audit is, or what is marketing audit. Now, marketing audit or an audit is a systematic, critical, and biased review and appraisal of the environment and the company's operations. When we speak of an audit, it is a systematic way of making sure that you have an overall unbiased view of what is happening in the organization itself and the surrounding environment, how the organization operates. Now, in terms of marketing audit, it is the process through which the marketing planner or the market planner identifies and evaluates the organization's strength and weaknesses against the background of the market and opportunities and threats. And so dealing with marketing audit, we have to think on a level of a critical mindset that seeks to determine whatever it is that might affect the well-being of the company or the corporation itself. Because marketing audit seeks to determine the challenges, the situation in a particular given scenario. Now, we cannot do anything in this strategic standpoint of marketing without having an audit first. And so we have to evaluate where we are so that we will know where to go. And that is the point exactly of what market audit is. We have to determine first and foremost where we are. If we don't know where we are, how do we know the exact direction upon which we have to go? How do we know that we have the capacity to engage in some kind of an activity in the hope of achieving particular goals? And so we have to audit first. Now, these are 3 potential benefits of marketing audit. Now, if you do something, there is a potential benefit out of it, because of course you will not be wasting time, money, and effort for something that will produce nothing. And so we have 3 potential benefits of marketing audit. Number 1, we will be able to get hold of a detailed analysis and understanding of the external environment and the internal situation. What is happening in the external environment? Let's say, for example, the political status of the vicinity and the territorial jurisdiction upon which your company belongs. The threats that are detrimental to the health of your company, or opportunities that might enable you in the near future to be at par with leading brands and competitors. And so we have to know the detailed analysis of the external and the internal environment. The next thing is the objective review and evaluation of past performance and present activities. And so we have to backtrack all of the historical data, all that we can review in the previous years, all of the strategies that were done, the expenses, everything that is necessary for us to understand why is it that a company is in such a particular situation, and what are the current activities as a consequence of past decisions. And so we have to determine exactly what are these things so that we'll be able to determine exactly what decisions are we going to do. So the next thing is there will be a clearer identification of future opportunities and threats. We already know the status of the environment, and so we can see the opportunities that might come and also the threats that may hinder us in arriving at the particular desired direction. And so We will proceed with the structure and focus of the audit. Now, we want to know the internal and the external environment. We want to determine the past decisions and current activities because we want to know the opportunities and the threats. Now, in order to know all of those very important things, we have to focus audit on specific portions of the organization. Now, in this case, we have to focus on the organization's environment, the way in which it is likely to change, and probable impact of these changes in the organization. When you're doing some kind of a strategic decisions, it almost always changes the structure of the organization and the environment of the organization itself, because you have to change something. That's the purpose of strategies. You have to change for the better. And so the focus of audit is the organization's environment. And the next focus is its marketing strategy, the structure, systems, processes, and culture, and the extent to which they are capable of dealing with the demands of the environment. When the environment is very competitive and aggressive, can the company, with its marketing strategy, structures, systems, and processes and culture, be able to compete with that harsh condition of competition? And then we have to focus audit on marketing activities, in particular, the components of the marketing mix and how well or badly they have been managed. Of course, we have to determine what has been done in order to forward the marketing mix. What is happening to product development? How do the company decide its pricing decisions? How do the company establish marketing plans? How is the company doing in terms of its place or placement, the segment, the exact place upon which they are doing business? How about the people? Do we have the capability that is ready to compete with other companies and corporations? Do we have the physical evidence, the exact structure of which we can operate in an efficient manner? Do we have the processes that is established in order to create harmony in the operation within the organization? We have to focus the audit in those particular portions of the organization. Next, we have Canon's 5 stages of audit. Of course, this is quite basic, and when you have any kind of audit, you have to follow these particular steps in order for you to determine exactly what's the underlying things that is behind certain phenomena that is happening within the organization. Because more or less, you have to do audit because something is wrong, or at least at some point, something is not satisfactory within the organization. And so the first thing that we have to do is define the market. And the key elements of this is development of the statement of purpose in terms of benefits, the scope of the product, the size, the growth rate, maturity state, the need for primary versus selective strategies, requirement for success, divergent definitions of the competitors, definitions to be used by the company in terms of what they mean about the market and its target audience. The next thing that we have to do is to determine performance differential. How are you performing in comparison to your competitors? How is your product different from others? Your applications, your distribution channels. How different are you in terms of the competing brand? The next thing is you have to determine differences in competitive programs. What are the current market development strategies, product development strategies, financing and administrative strategies and support in comparison to other companies, to other corporations, especially those competing brands? The next thing is profile strategies of the competitors. What are the strategies that were adopted and is currently used by other competitors? What are they doing? Are they doing well than us? If they are, what could be their strategies in a way that they were able to compete with us or at some point exceed our performance in the market? We have to compare our own strategies to their strategies, especially when they're doing better than us. And then we have determined the strategic planning structure. So we have to establish planning units or cells and designate prime and subordinate functions. Make organizational assignments to product managers, industry managers, and others. So we have to determine what are these specific groups that would help you enable the corporation or the company for a better future. Next, we have marketing effectiveness. How do we know that marketing principles that we adapt are effective? Marketing strategies that we follow are effective? How do we then know that these things are performing to our advantage? Marketing effectiveness is to a very large extent determined by the extent to which the organization reflects 5 major attributes of a marketing orientation. So we have to determine effectiveness by way of looking at the company or the organization and determine its effectiveness in the market by looking at certain philosophical standard of which a corporation or an organization, for that matter, would act in a society or in a particular market segment. So number 1, we have customer-oriented philosophy. Is the company customer-oriented? Because some companies are too narrow-minded or probably traditional in nature, that they are just talking about money and how can we earn, what strategies that will maximize profitability and so on, without even necessarily talking about customer satisfaction and how customers are responding to the product being offered and the services being offered. Next is an integrated marketing organization, meaning you are not confined with a certain medium of marketing communication. You are an integrated marketing organization. You cover almost all, if possible, mediums of communication in order to get in touch with your customers so that your customers will be able to communicate with you and at some point give you necessary information to make products better. Do you have adequate marketing information? What is your strategic orientation? Are you operating efficiently? We will be able to determine how effective is an organization in terms of marketing when we deal with these following points. Next, we have the most famous analysis in the face of the world, and that is SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis or SWOT analysis. I don't know what term would you call it, but that's my way of calling it, SWOT analysis. Now, this particular analysis is very famous because it is a wholesome kind of an analysis, although many of the experts actually doubt the effectiveness of this analysis. But nonetheless, through the use of SWOT analysis, especially when you are using this wholeheartedly and honestly, you will exactly be able to determine the forces that affects the well-being of your corporation on a current status and adjust based on the factors that you have seen in order to propel your company forward. And so SWOT analysis focuses on strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths are areas of competence. What are you good at? What is good that is in you that can compete with others? It is your competitive advantage against competing brands. Next is we have weaknesses, the area of relative disadvantage. What weakness it is that you have against your competitor that requires marketing improvement or requires improvement in general. Let's say, for example, you don't have experts in marketing, and that is your weakness because no expert means no concrete knowledge on how to navigate around narrow area of strict competitions. Next is opportunities, the environmental trends with positive outcomes that offer scope of higher level of performance if pursued effectively. New areas of competitive advantage or new areas of opportunity wherein you could probably be earning potential income and profits. Threats are trends within the environment with potentially negative impact. Like let's say for example, you want to build a nuclear power plant and you are situating your nuclear power plant in the Pacific Ring of Fire. Of course, that is a threat, environmental threat in a literal form of environmental threat. Another example of that is when you're in food business probably or tourism business and there is a political instability in a particular area. That is also a threat. Another example of that is when you have an entrant to your market which is backed up by powerful companies. So that is also a threat that might affect your organization in general. That would increase the resources required to survive or reduce the performance expectation. So SWOT analysis is very insightful, although some or many of the experts in marketing question the validity of SWOT analysis. But to me, in my own perspective, I think SWOT analysis is very effective and insightful with, of course, the assumption that you have to do it wholeheartedly and correctly. And so if you're just doing SWOT analysis for the purpose of complying the requirements, or let's say, for example, for the purpose of having SWOT analysis without necessarily an unbiased view of the environment itself, of course, SWOT analysis will be useless. And the same with all other processes. If it is tainted with bias, of course, the result would be bias, and therefore it is a useless form of data. And so that's the reason why when using SWOT analysis, you have to be wholeheartedly honest about what you're going to write in every aspect of its internal and external environment. And then we have to determine the real capabilities of our company. And in order to do that, we have to be able to determine and focus our audit on several structural levels within the entire company itself. And we will, of course, start with the managerial capabilities. What are the capabilities of our managers? Those managing the corporation, those managing the organization, are they qualified to do so? Do they have the concrete skills to maneuver the company in the desired direction based on the strategic standpoint? How is team developed in the managerial level? Next, we have the culture, the managerial culture. Do you have the culture for change? Or do you have the culture to stay left behind against competitors around the environment? And how is the financial capabilities of the company? Do we have enough sources of finances that will be able to propel the organization for the challenges that may come in the future? Or the organization is financially broke? So we have to determine that. The distribution capabilities. How is the company able to distribute products and services? Are they able to provide these products and services based on the promises that have been done on any of the marketing campaigns? How about the human resource capabilities? Do you have people that are knowledgeable and skillful to perform the necessary task in order to arrive at the strategic direction? How about intangible capabilities such as brands, the identity of the company and the identity of the products the organization offers? The products the organization offers. Those are intangible capabilities. We also have to take into consideration those particular things. Now, how do we conduct an effective market audit? We have different kinds of audit, and of course, we'll start with comprehensive audit. Comprehensive audit is an overhaul of the entire system to determine what are the things that have to be improved and what are the things that have to be eradicated, what are processes that have to be purified, and what are those processes that has to be retained. A systematic audit is a diagnosis of the entire system step by step to determine any process that is not productive or any errors within the process that results to some kind of a deterioration of the company's identity and financial capability for that particular instance. And then we have independent audit. Now, independent audit could be in a form of a self-audit. You have to audit yourself, audit your capabilities, audit your outputs based on the totality of the investment in that particular department. And next we have management audit, wherein the managers will audit the lower ranks, like supervisors and the people in the rank and file. It could also be that the board of directors will give tasks to company auditors to audit the situation within the particular unit or department or the company itself in total. Or there could be at some point a task force audit that will be convened by the board of directors in order to audit the company, determine the internal and the external environment. And of course, this is the trending audit form in the contemporary era. This is outsourced audit, wherein external companies who are independent will be hired in order to audit specific portions of the company or the entire company itself for the purpose of looking at things to be developed, things to be retained, and things to stay as it is. And we also have regular audit. Now, regular audit is done on a regular basis. So there could be a regular audit yearly, or it could be bi-yearly, twice a year, or once every 2 years. It depends on the decisions of the board of directors. Now, what are the components of audit? We have environmental audit. The audit on the environment, internal and the external environment, competitors, the physical environment around us. the market environment, the landscape of the market. Next, we have strategy audit. We have to determine the effectiveness of the strategy being used with respect to the market segment upon which the strategy is being carried upon. The organization audit, the entire structure and structural audit of the organization. We have systems audit. How is the processes being done? We have also to audit on that. The productivity audit, is the organization productive and efficient enough in the production of goods and services being offered to the target audience, to the target market? And then we have functions audit. Now, functions audit actually talks about how is the marketing mix implemented within the organization? Are the principles of the marketing mix being used in an effective way and in such a manner that is beneficial to the company or the corporation? Or the marketing mix have been a disaster, and that's the reason why audit has been done in the first place. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next lesson.